everyone! Well, the time has come to share my 23andMe results with you guys. This is a follow-up to another video that I made, so if you missed that one, there will be a link down below for you. And thanks again to 23andMe for sponsoring this video. So my results are in, and they're pretty exciting, but I'm gonna be getting into that later in the video. First, we have some things to talk about. Since we are smack dab in the middle of holiday season, and lots of people are traveling, seeing family and loved ones, I thought that I would talk about my experience growing up in a mixed household and how that affected the holidays. My parents come from two very different backgrounds. My dad grew up in America, so he grew up celebrating all of the traditional American holidays. And my mom grew up in Thailand, and Thailand is predominantly Buddhist, so she grew up celebrating none of the holidays that we celebrate here in the States. And there's actually a really huge difference between the two cultures, and not only the holidays that they celebrate, but the philosophies behind the way that they just live their lives. In my household during this time of the year, I grew up celebrating Christmas. And this was really interesting because I did live in a blended household, and my mom never celebrated Christmas until she came to the States and married my dad. So this was something that was really new to her. Also to my grandma, who lived with us as well, who had spent her entire life not celebrating Christmas or anything like this. And so she really didn't start celebrating Christmas until I was born. So I grew up with a Thai integration into a Western celebration. One of the main things that stands out to me is the food. So there would be multiple Christmas celebrations that we would go to, but one was usually always predominantly Thai. My mom had friends who were also Thai, who had been living in the States, and they just kind of created their own Christmas celebration. So in Thailand, Christmas isn't really celebrated, especially outside of metropolitan areas like Bangkok. In Bangkok, there are people who do celebrate Christmas, but it's not an ingrained institution for them like it is here in the States. It doesn't have quite the same context there. For some people, it's almost like a novelty to be celebrating it because it's just something so different. It was actually really interesting going to holiday parties that were decorated with Christmas decorations, but we were eating Thai food. And then on my dad's side of the family, there would be parties where, I would be eating the food that you would traditionally associate with a Christmas celebration. And a lot of times people would bring different dishes to these parties, and my mom would bring Thai food. So it would be the one thing that really would stand out at these parties. And looking back on it now, it's interesting to reflect on people's different reactions. Like some people were really afraid of the food. Other people thought it was really cool and interesting. So there were definitely varied responses to my mom just simply bringing a small Thai dish. Another big difference between the two cultures, aside from the fact that Christmas just isn't a thing for most Thai people, is the culture around gift giving. So here in the States, even beyond Christmas, like for birthdays and special occasions, there's an expectation to give and receive gifts. However, in Thailand, that's really just not a thing. Like your birthday could come, but there's no expectation from you to receive a gift, and there's no expectation placed on other people to give you a gift. But if you happen to receive a gift, it's really nice and it's normally very thoughtful, and it's typically to celebrate something really special. I remember on Christmas morning when we would be opening presents, it would be my dad, my mom, my grandma, and myself. And my grandma and my mom always had a different response to opening presents, especially my grandma, because this was something that was so completely new to her. It was new to my mom, but my mom was younger. She had also been in the country for a longer period of time. My grandma, had spent the vast majority of her life in Thailand and then came here to the States and was really just learning about this entirely new culture and the celebrations that came along with it. And so in Thailand, she was just never used to receiving gifts. And so it was something that was almost like embarrassing for her to do, because in Thailand, if you do receive a gift, it's considered rude to open the gift in front of the person who gave it to you. So that's something that typically is not done. So she would always feel like a little bit awkward and embarrassed, like opening up presents and receiving presents just in general. She just felt like, oh, this isn't something that I need. I'm happy with everything that I have. You know, I love my family. And those were the things that were important to her. And so receiving these gifts were just like a huge luxury to her. And to give you an idea of gift giving in my mom's family specifically, there's a story that my mom has told me about one of her favorite gifts that she ever received as a kid from her dad. And it was milk, just regular old dairy milk that we see all the time in our grocery stores. Having milk from a cow is still not super common in Thailand. It's not part of the regular diet, but when my mom was growing up in Thailand, it really was super scarce. And so it was a big deal for her dad to come home with a glass bottle of fresh milk. And my mom said that it was just the most amazing treat to be able to drink a glass of milk. And to this day, my mom still loves milk. I'm sure that is definitely tied to the scarcity that she experienced when she was growing up in a different country, and the memory of just being so excited when she did get to have dairy milk. Now, if you think about that in the context of being American and an American kid receiving milk as a gift, let's just say the reaction would probably be pretty different. So even though the milk story is specific to my mom's experience, I think it illustrates the general view of gift giving within the different cultures. It was just cool to see how my two different sides blended together for the holidays. And obviously there was much more of an adjustment that had to happen for my mom and grandma, but I think they really embraced the spirit of the season in their own way, and that's what made it special for them. And above all, both my parents and my grandma always did their best to make sure that holiday season was fun for me. And that's something that I will always, always be grateful for. And now it's time to share my 23andMe results. If you're wondering where the name comes from, it's quite literally from the fact that human DNA is organized into 23 pairs of chromosomes. 23andMe was created to help people better understand their DNA, which I think is so awesome. You can see where in the world your ancestors came from, and you can also learn about how your DNA influences things like facial features, taste, etc. I was a little nervous before looking at my results because I was like, am I about to have an identity crisis? Was everything that I was told over the course of my life a lie? And then I got my results and I was like, oh, this is exactly pretty much what I was expecting. So my results officially are, I have them here in front of me, 50.1% European. So within the European sphere, I am 46.1% Northwestern European, which means British and Irish, Scandinavian, French and German. This was the surprise though within the European side. I'm 3% Southern European, which I had no idea about. I would say that was probably the biggest surprise. Then I am 48.4% East Asian and Native American. So most of that is Southeast Asian. Then there's East Asian, Mongolian, and Yakut? I'm not sure how to say that name. And then Native American. I'm 1% South Asian. I also have a little bit of Oceanian in me. So that is also interesting. Like everything that's outside of Southeast Asian, I was like, oh, okay, this is really interesting to learn. Looking at the map, it's really interesting because I am pretty much from everywhere around the world except the Middle East, Africa, and Iceland. There's also an ancestry timeline that breaks things down by generation, so you can see your most recent ancestor from a specific place. Personally, this has been a really amazing experience for me because it is so awesome to have confirmation of something that I have been told, because a lot of times, you know, things can get lost down the lines of the family tree, and it is really amazing that this is proof within my DNA that I have family that have come from these places. It's actually made me a lot more curious about asking my mom questions, and I think it's something that will be an ongoing conversation between the two of us, and just being able to like sit down and show someone like these are my results and have a conversation about it is really amazing. It brings me closer to my mom and my genetic story. And I think that that is so cool, that this is something that can bring you closer to the people who share your DNA. And also closer to yourself, because I think that you get a better understanding of yourself when you can see where your family comes from. And because it's holiday season, 23andMe has a special offer going on right now. So you can go to 23andme.com/Ingrid and check it out. It'll be running through December 26th, so make sure you get going soon. Christmas is coming. This has honestly been one of the coolest things that I have ever done, and everyone that I know who has tried out 23andMe absolutely loves the experience because it's so easy and so seamless, and then you can just go online and see your results, and you learn so much from the information that they provide for you online, and they make it super simple to navigate. And before I go, anyone out there who comes from a mixed background, no matter what your mix is, I would love it if you would share your experience of the holidays. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel because I will have more videos coming your way. My armpits are sweaty, but they smell like vanilla because I'm using a new deodorant. All right, see you later, everybody. Bye.